Philosophy and Thought. Part 6. Reason as the criterion for explanation. From the moment reason takes up the task of knowledge, it becomes necessary for the understanding of the world to occur through categories unique to human understanding. That's where Aristotle comes in. He will develop a series of understandings and procedures, eventually known as logic. Logic means the science of the forms of knowledge, or the ways of thinking. For this reason, the world is considered a system to which a system of knowledge must correspond. This system is constructed of norms, rules, principles, and everything else that could form part of a certain world order. This stems from the idea that the world is ordered by reason, and its understanding is derived from this order, an intellectual order whose principles exist within the knowledge-seeking individual. As such, knowledge will be developed from observation and experience, but also, most importantly, from principles which Aristotle names the logic of knowledge. These principles are all organizers of the vast world system. This world system is a rational system. Therefore, what we discussed about the desire to know, the will to know, which is part of the essence of a human being, will now unfold into countless rules, principles, and categories, forming part of Aristotle's work, possibly one of the most significant contributions to the organization of knowledge from an intellectual perspective. Notably, the category of causality, or cause and effect, should be part of this system as a kind of master key to understanding the world. This means that everything that exists has a cause, and it is up to knowledge to identify that cause. Therefore, the definition of knowledge can be given by this formula, which holds a significant spot in Aristotle's work. To know is to know by the causes. Not only the causes near the phenomenon and that are easy to identify, but also those remote, deep ones that end up constituting the first principles of knowledge. For Aristotle, this chain of causes is absolutely essential for us to identify each phenomenon. Knowledge begins with the observation of a particular fact, but the fact on its own says nothing. It needs to be inserted into a logical and causal chain to acquire any significance. Aristotle's goal was to establish knowledge as a comprehensive, unified, and great system. This system will be a system of intellectual order. It is necessary to clarify that this order does not come entirely from nature, it is imposed by human intellect. It is human understanding that bestows reality with the logical forms that will allow us to comprehend it and render the world a comprehensible, intelligible system. The intelligibility of the world lies within the world itself, and in this respect, Aristotle is rather original compared to his predecessors. For knowledge to be in the world, we need to consider these components: on one side, the reality to be known, and on the other, the subject that knows it. Both have their roles to play. Yet Aristotle's original contribution is seen in the development of logic, or these procedures, quite varied and numerous, that will produce knowledge, that is, the order of the world. In a way, this intellectual order stems from the subject, or the subject's intellect. However, this alone wouldn't constitute knowledge if this intellectual order couldn't apply to empirical data, to facts, to individual phenomena, and thus connect them in a way that reveals the world's underlying causal patterns, that is, to understand the world in the causal sequences that constitute it. This applies equally to physical, mathematical, biological knowledge, and also the knowledge of the human being. Interestingly, in this extensive system, Aristotle's ethics do not completely submit to this logic, meaning that human behavior, human conduct, are influenced by so many variables that it would be impossible for us to compute them all to our understanding. Therefore, it's not possible to consider ethics, human conduct, and human actions in the same way we consider physical and mathematical phenomena. There will then be another type of rationality that applies to human actions. Aristotle defines this well. On one side, theoretical rationality used for hard sciences like mathematics and physics, and on the other, practical rationality encompassing the realm of human actions, including politics, which Aristotle sees as being an important part of conduct and highly significant from a point of view of human realization and fulfillment, and the happiness that can be achieved in this world. Therefore, it's up to the wise man to unite and combine these elements. On one side, the accuracy of scientific knowledge. On the other, the discernment necessary to differentiate between good and evil. If we leverage these procedures and purposes with balance, then the system of philosophy will be formed. Besides these two system components, Aristotle will also add, as bearing its own validity, considerations related to art, specifically Greek drama, which Aristotle studied in great depth and detail, and which still serves as guidance for aesthetic norms, even in the modern era.